Hello and welcome to the Remedyfibers podcast, a podcast about knitting and crochet hosted by me, Jillian. Today I want to help you ease your comfort level into garment knitting, and I have 5 tips to help smooth the process and build your confidence. First, I want to welcome any new viewers. If you're new, thank you so much for checking out my channel. And if you're a returner, you probably already know how to knit garments, or you really want to get some tips to increase your confidence level so you're not scared to pick up the needles. The very first step that I recommend is measuring your body. This is something that we're often not taught how to do. We often just go to the store, pick up a size we think might fit, and then just go with it. But it's so important when you're making custom made clothes to fit your custom measurements that you measure yourself. And you can even ask a friend to help measure you. But for me, the most important measurement when I'm choosing a pattern size is measuring my bust. Some designers go more in depth to measure your shoulders, to measure your waist, and having more measurements for a more custom fit. But my bust measurement has really been a determining factor in me deciding what size is going to fit me, as well as what positive ease and negative ease looks like. So positive ease is when the designer recommends how loose the finished garment should be. And so they often have a part in the pattern that says what your current bust measurement is, as well as once you're finished with the garment, what the actual finished measurement of your bust should be. So let's say you're a size 34 in your bust measurement. Your finished garment, if it's positive ease, might be a 37. If it's negative ease, it might stay at 34. It might be a little bit of a smaller bust circumference, just so it can have that fitted look. The second tip is making sure that you have the recommended needle size that the pattern designer is recommending. And the reason why I say this is because you want to make sure that you're knitting as close to the size that the designer is recommending, and so that your garment is actually going to fit you. I also recommend that you have a needle size up and a needle size down for what they're recommending, just in case you have to go up a needle size or if you need to go down a needle size in the garment. The one that you always hear, the third step, is making sure that you are knitting a gauge swatch. I know a lot of people roll their eyes, they want to move past this part. Some people even pride themselves of never having to do this. But if you really want to have that confidence in knowing that your garment is going to fit you and not put hours into a piece and hope that it does, this is a really great way to determine whether how your style of knitting, the yarn that you chose, the needle size that you're knitting with, is matching as closely to what the designer has made, so that their math matches up with your knitting style and has a piece that you can wear after you're done. When I first started knitting gauge swatches, it was very confusing, but you just have to take a lot of practice. It just takes practice and time to figure out what a gauge swatch is, and now after knitting a few garments, I think I finally understand it. So I have one to show you. So this is an example gauge swatch that I made for my summer sorrel, and what I like to do is whatever the amount of stitches the designer is recommending, I always add an extra 8. So I add 4 in the beginning and 4 at the end, because with these stitches it helps give stability to my little swatch. So after I block it and I measure it, it's not flimsy. When you're knitting stockinette, which is knit in the front and purl in the back, the fabric will start to roll on itself, and it's really hard to try to lay it flat and measure if you're meeting gauge. So that's why I like to add that ribbing detail on the side. After that, I knit however many stitches the designer has told me to cast on for however many rows that they've recommended. I wet block it, I let it sit, and then I get my measuring tape and I see if how many stitches that they wanted me to cast on is measuring a 4-inch length. If it is, then I cast on. If I'm off by a few stitches, I would still use that needle size. But if I'm off a whole inch, that's when I go up a needle size. I've never had to go down a needle size, and I guess I just knit. I can determine if that means you knit tightly or that means you knit loosely. But I usually hold on to my gauge swatches because one time I finished a garment, I used up the rest of the yarn, and then I had to fix something, so I just I ripped apart the gauge swatch and used it to fix my sweater. My fourth tip in knitting a garment is choosing a design that is knit top down, in the round, and in one piece. This is a really beginner friendly design because you're knitting everything together. You're not seaming things, you're not knit the front, knit the back, then sew everything together, and you can see your design grow. I love to cast on with 9-inch circulars and then move up when I'm having more stitches and they're no longer fitting, because it helps me prevent the struggles with magic loop. I've never really mastered or been a fan of magic loop, so I prefer casting on with a 9-inch circular and then moving up as my pattern grows. My last tip, the fifth and final step, is trying it along the way. You definitely want to see if what you're making is fitting you before casting off and finishing and weaving everything in. And the great thing about top-down sweaters is oftentimes you can try them on as you go, especially to make sure that they're fitting over your head, it's not tight on the neck. Once you put your sleeves on waist yarn or additional needles, you can fit your arms in to see if it's going to be too tight on your arm circumference. So when you're working on the sleeves, you can add more stitches. You can also try it on to make sure that it's not too tight on your bust and how long you want it to be. So a lot of tops are crop tops, and I like to knit past that, and I like to measure myself on how much more should I knit so that it's past my stomach area. It's just more comfortable for me. I don't want my stomach out, so I love to try them on. My recommendation is to make sure you have 40-inch length needles so that you can put half of your stitches, your live stitches, on 2 needles to try it on so it fits. I think they also have tools that you can put all your live stitches on. It has an elastic cord, I believe, and you can try that on, but I haven't tried that tool yet. So if you've tried that tool, comment below on what it's called and if you like it, because when I'm trying my garments on and they're still on 2 needles, a lot of my stitches fall off, they get loose. I have to work a lot of the mistakes from trying the design on. So that's something where I really want to improve in, is making sure that I'm able to try on my pieces without losing my stitches. I would say, since knitting a couple of garments, you really have to have a lot of patience and kindness with yourself. It's really easy to be hard on yourself, to beat yourself up when things are not going smoothly, especially when you're going to more advanced designs or trying to grow your skill set. And really, it's going to take a lot of trial and error. You're going to have to make mistakes so that you can learn what not to do and also how to fix your mistakes. Right now I'm working on a Jessie made My Secret Little crop top, and I've knit when I was supposed to purl, I've purled when I was supposed to knit, and I'm able to work back without ripping anything apart on how to fix those stitches to make them knit stitches if they're purled or purl stitches if they're knit. So right now this is not a good example because it is bottom up, but I can also try on a bottom up sweater, which I have tried this on. I can put a picture here, but I like this pattern because it's just simple ribbing. There is some new skills to learn when you're doing the straps, but it's really fun to make. It's really stretchy, so depending on what size you want, I wanted to have negative ease and be fitted on me, so I knit a smaller size that I'm used to. When I tried it on, I think I just knit loosely. It was still kind of more stretchy than I wanted it to be, more space than I wanted it to be, but I'm really loving how this is going. It's really fun summer knit, and this is cotton yarn, so it will not have me sweating too much in the summertime. Well, I hope those tips were helpful. I really hope that you can raise your confidence, grow in making custom made clothes for you, and then wear them out in the streets and be fabulous. Have people compliment you, ask you what you're wearing. That's one of my favorite things to do, is making sure when I go to a local yarn shop, I'm wearing something that I've made, and then everyone asks me, what is that? What design is that? What yarn did you use? I just feel so fabulous. Well, comment below what tips you think are helpful for beginners to enter garment knitting, or what lessons you've learned along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you and your family are healthy, happy, and safe, and I hope to see you next week. Take care. Bye.